TF2 has a lot of memes. Some of those memes happen to be weapons. Examples of such are the caber, the man-treads, and of course, the fish. Now, something these weapons all have in common is that they're all pretty dang bad. However, one meme weapon stands out from the rest, at least in my eyes. One meme weapon is immediately pushed to the side without being given a fair chance. One meme weapon is, in my opinion, a viable addition to Soldier's arsenal. That weapon being... Oh, okay, I don't need to milk the suspense any longer. You've seen the bloody thumbnail. The rocket jumper. The rocket jumper does one thing and one thing only, and that one thing is to grant you absolutely insane mobility. And when I say it only does one thing, I mean it. It doesn't do damage, it doesn't do knockback, nothing else. This weapon also has a very nice bonus of massively increased reserve ammo, making ammo a non-issue. It also comes with the downside of not being able to carry the intelligence briefcase or pastime jack. But seriously, who plays pastime? Who cares about that? So now I know what you're thinking. Yeehaw, that doesn't sound like a good weapon. You could just use the gunboats or even the Liberty Launcher and still have a damaging primary. And yeah, that's a good point. The gunboats are a very good item. But so many soldiers use the gunboats, I honestly feel like most soldier mains have completely forgotten just how good his other secondaries are. Out of ammo? Shotgun time. Want to support the team? Banner time. Wants to have a KD of 1 to 83? What's that? You don't want a KD of 1 to 83? Well, too bad, it's Bison time. The rocket jumper allows for completely damageless mobility while keeping a shotgun. And I say shotgun because running a different secondary is usually suicide. So now that I've given a brief overview of the rocket jumper, let's get into weapon synergy, starting with melee weapons. I'll start with the worst weapons to pair with the rocket jumper, and then move on to the better ones. The stock shovel is your worst option as always, but honestly it's not a terrible pick. The damage output is acceptable when your primary does no damage, so if you miss your shotgun shots, it's not terrible. Since you have damageless mobility, you can use that to close the distance and secure a kill. In some situations you might be better off running, but you can still secure kills this way, although it's still the worst as it has zero utility. Next up is the equalizer. The main issue with this weapon normally is that you have no way of closing the distance when you're at low health, and trying to do so will just get you killed. But because you have the rocket jumper, you can close the distance quite easily, making its main flaw irrelevant. This next rank may surprise people. The escape... What? Wrong picture. The escape plan. You see, the escape plan when paired with the rocket jumper is very redundant. Why take out the escape plan to run fast at the expense of taking mini crits, when you could alternatively switch to the rocket jumper and move faster with vertical distance without taking mini crits? The only situation to use this in is when your rocket jumper clip is empty, in which case just reload a rocket. It's not worth taking mini crits for. Small side note, the escape plan is often used for speeding up rollouts and building Uber, but when your rollouts deal no damage to yourself and you are often not near the medic, those two uses are rare. Up next is the Pain Train. This weapon is alright. Its damage matches stock, with a good upside and a fairly small downside. However, in some game modes it's a direct downgrade, and since you're very mobile with the rocket jumper, you'll want to take advantage of that as much as possible, meaning that you'll probably not get as much use out of the upside, but you can still make it work, especially on King of the Hill. Some may have expected this one to be lower, but next is the Half Zatoichi. This thing is basically a direct upgrade to stock in most scenarios. The upsides of increased melee range combined with 50% of your base health on kill make this thing insane sometimes. Since you can use the rocket jumper to close the distance to get the kill, it lets you live so much longer. It's surprisingly good. And for the best melee to pair with the rocket jumper, the disciplinary action. It may sound bad on paper because you need to be near teammates to get the speed boost, but it actually helps a ton. The speed boost actually grants you more mobility while rocket jumping, so you can make your rollouts even faster. It's just a better version of the escape plan, and it can also help your teammates too, so that's a great bonus. The decreased damage on this thing really hurts when it's effectively your secondary weapon, but I find you can very often escape situations that you know you can't win by using the rocket jumper. Like I said, it's the escape plan, but actually good with the rocket jumper. Is that really all of Soldier's melees? I feel like I'm forgetting one. Nah, I probably didn't. Let's just move on to secondaries now. Unfortunately for Soldier here, his secondary options are much more limited while using the rocket jumper. I'm lumping the gunboats, righteous bison, banners, man-treads, and base jumper all into this one category. Unusable. I didn't even gather footage for any of these because you should never use them. Since all of these weapons don't do any damage, you're forced to use your melee as your primary, and let me tell you, that is a horrible idea. However, if you do want to use any of these, I highly recommend the Half Zatoichi, as it's the only soldier melee suitable for use as a primary weapon. So that leaves us with a mere 3 secondary weapons that are viable alongside the rocket jumper. Disappointing number, I know. Since they're all pretty similar, this won't take very long. The reserve shooter is a downgrade, but it's still at least usable. Its upsides really aren't all that important, as you can't take advantage of them nearly as much as if you were using a damaging primary. The only situation in which it's actually decent is when there's a lot of blast jumping soldiers and demos, and or you have a lot of friendly soldiers on your team that can frequently pop people up into the air. Next up are actually 2 weapons tied for the best, the panic attack and the shotgun. Both of these weapons are the only secondary weapons Soldier has that can really work as a primary. The reserve shooter can too, but it's still just a downgrade to stock. Both of these weapons do very respectable damage, and that's about all I can say. The panic attack does more at close range, but significantly less at long range. Thankfully, you have one of the best weapons at closing distance right at your fingertips, so you can take advantage of that close range damage a lot more often than normal. And that's all of Soldier's weapons when paired with the rocket jumper. Ugh, no, something's not right here. I must be forgetting something. Oh. Despite pretending to have forgotten about the Market Gardener as a joke, there is actually a very good reason I am talking about it right here specifically in this part of the video. And that reason is the Market Gardener is a total game changer. What happens when you pair the melee weapon that does triple damage while rocket jumping with the primary that makes rocket jumping completely free? The answer is the ability to deal 195 damage basically whenever you want. In fact, forget what I said about the man-treads, base jumper, contra, and battalion's backup, because this thing single-handedly makes those weapons viable. This thing easily takes the cake for best soldier melee. Step aside disciplinary action. Sorry I did you dirty like that, it was for comedy. Alright, now that we've actually talked about all of Soldier's weapons with the rocket jumper, let's cover playstyles and maps. Obviously, for your playstyles, you should be as mobile as possible. Although the rocket jumper is really good for rollouts, don't forget that it's literally free mobility, so if you need to get somewhere, whip it out, even if it's not far away. Additionally, when using the rocket jumper, you need to pick your fights. The rocket jumper gives up a majority of your damage in exchange for being hypermobile. So if you see a fight that you cannot take, it is okay to say nope, I can't deal with that, and then leave at the speed of light. Ideally, you should leave before the fight even starts, because taking out the rocket jumper in the middle of a fight won't always work. Now about maps. I found that maps that use control points tend to fare better for the jumper. So King of the Hill, 5 CP, and Attack Defend tend to perform best. Although payload maps can be quite fine if it's open. I find a lot of success on maps like Upward, certain parts of Badwater, Swiftwater, and Gorge. Avoid maps like Dust Bowl and Junction, because they're both very enclosed and one of them is Junction. So play on maps like Upward and Swiftwater and make sure to take full advantage of the rocket jumper whenever possible, and you should be good to go. Great, so that's my video about the rocket jumper. Thanks for watching. Okay, I can't ignore the elephant in the room any longer. If you want to double down on your rocket jump heavy playstyle, you can just use the gunboats. Although the mobility isn't as free as the rocket jumper, you can still be very mobile and dish out a lot of damage. damage that the shotgun could only dream of. And not just single target damage, but also splash damage as well. The rocket jumper still has some advantages over the gunboats plus any other launcher, but I can't pretend like the rocket jumper is more effective because it simply is not. So, to wrap up with some closing thoughts, is the rocket jumper a meme weapon? Of course it is. Is the rocket jumper less effective than the typical soldier playstyle? Also yes. Is the rocket jumper completely outshined by the gunboats? Also yes. Is the rocket jumper a bad weapon? After all my experience playing with the rocket jumper for this video, I have to say no, at least in pubs. It is for sure worse than a normal soldier playstyle, but it's good enough to do well in pubs and it's very fun. And sometimes, honestly, that's just all you need from a weapon. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.